Hey, White Sox fans. Brett Ballantini here. Hey, can you believe it? It's been like 2 weeks since we had a mothership South Side Sox podcast. This is number 52. We are anticipating the trade deadline, and we're getting real close to it. The deadline itself is Friday, the 30th at 3 p.m. Central Time. The White Sox have yet to do anything. I think we're going to address that here in this podcast, but we're going to talk trade deadline league-wide, and of course, specifically for your beloved Chicago White Sox. With me once again, it's sort of like I can't shake him. It's Darren Black, usually our minors guy, but he's jack of all trades, so he's going to apply some minors knowledge. And every time I mention possible trades, if you're watching, you'll just see him shake his head. He's just going to shake his head. He might say something, shake his head. And Tyrone Palmer, thanks for coming back. We've had you on a few podcasts already. Jack of all trades, team member, still feeling his way into what he's doing for us writing wise, but certainly jumped on a bunch of podcasts, and we're going to hear some good stuff from you as well. Tyrone, welcome.
It's good to be back, and I'm hoping everything I say tonight will be like horribly out of date by the time this comes out.
Yes, we will have, once the big trade happens, we will have an emergency podcast. It could just be me talking to you, and I'll just be crying tears of joy. If I can get anybody else on with me, maybe me and Darren, he's always on with me. So we'll just talk and we'll like high five each other or something like that. So we will definitely have emergency South Side Sox podcast material if something happens. Perhaps this is anticipating nothing really much will happen, but I guess let's go around first off and just, is this trade deadline and some of the deals we're seeing breaking today as we're recording? We're seeing Eduardo Escobar traded to Milwaukee. We're seeing a big package of prospects from the Yankees going to the Rangers for Joey Gallo. How has this trade deadline action measured up to expectations in terms of activity and maybe cost for premium talent?
Sure. So in terms of like big picture, major league picture, not just the White Sox, because I don't think really anything you can say positive right now for the White Sox with the trade deadline, obviously. But it seems like everything's kind of going a bit quicker. The one interesting thing is that the top relievers really haven't gone yet. I don't know if that's just kind of the last domino that's going to fall. But in terms of prospects on other teams, like this big Rangers trade, I saw JJ Cooper say that, or just kind of remind everybody, like these prospect lists are usually for the preseason, and that's based off of a year of no baseball. So maybe they're just not really that updated and stuff like that. Because he was kind of indicating that some of the Yankees prospects would have been the top 10 at Baseball America, or stuff like that. But it's just kind of weird because no baseball for a while for a lot of these prospects, and now they're all getting moved all over the place. None of them to the White Sox, or none of the big league guys to the White Sox, but just kind of so far.
Yeah, I feel like I've been sort of underwhelmed with all of the like prospect returns in all of these trades, but I also think we're in kind of a weird period where with no baseball last year, or at least no minor league baseball. So I feel like the evaluations for all of these guys is all over the map. But I have been surprised at how early a lot of the action has gotten started. I feel like a lot of the key position players have already moved at this point, and so I feel like teams aren't really waiting around until Friday.
Yeah, Jack Peterson got traded like 6 years ago. I mean, he's maybe the biggest name is going to move. Okay, let's talk. Let's go around a little bit and talk about Eduardo Escobar. And I'm going to start big picture, and that is there was a time, even when I was covering the team, where the front office would get furious when another team would like seemingly decide to shop around a deal that the White Sox thought they already had in place. The famous one that I recall that I was covering was Adam Dunn. Ken Williams had acquired Edwin Jackson specifically to flip to Washington for Adam Dunn. And suddenly Mike Rizzo decided, well, I don't know, he wanted to renegotiate the deal when Ken Williams already had, and Ken Williams was furious. You've seen the White Sox have some deals sort of fall through. Jack Peterson, of course, is one. Eduardo Escobar, I think we can throw onto that pile now. Well, we definitely can throw that onto the pile now. And I'm thinking, The White Sox might want to stop leaking trades as some sort of weird pressure tactic. They need to stop talking to Bob Nightingale, etc. I know a lot of teams do it, but if they don't like how that used to work when teams continue to shop deals when they thought something was in play, including probably this Eduardo Escobar deal. I'm sure that when Ken Williams got off the phone or they all hung up on the conference call and Bob Nightingale immediately tweeted, I'm sure they did think they had a deal for Eduardo Escobar. You just might want to just a pregnant pause, because that's just as irritating to other teams as continuing to shop a deal around. Okay, that said, first of all, welcome in Tommy Barbee to the proceedings. We are now a quartet talking trade deadline, but specific to Eduardo, he's gone to the Milwaukee Brewers for a couple processes. I'm guessing the White Sox thought they had a deal of player to be named later, depending on whether they won the World Series, get a pretty good player. If Eduardo Escobar broke himself and never played, man, nothing. We paid his salary, be happy with that. And I'm guessing a team like the Brewers, some of the teams said, well, that's it. We'll give you like a player or two. And, the White Sox dropped the monocle over that. Like, well, hold on. We thought we had him for free. We thought we got to shoplift him. But anyway, I guess reactions, given that this was a guy that we thought the White Sox fans thought pretty much was in the fold, this would be an easy one. And this didn't even come through for the White Sox. Thoughts about Eduardo Escobar not coming back and wearing a White Sox uniform?
I mean, I thought he was the safe option this entire time, that they would, because they've been tied to Trevor Story too, which I thought was never going to happen. Now I really hope it happens. And then once that kind of walked through, they would go to Eduardo Escobar and send over whomever. It sounded like they wanted Zack Collins a while ago. And obviously with Yasmani going down, you can't send over one of your two catchers that can actually kind of catch. I know Collins maybe can't actually catch, but they don't really have that many options at that position, so they got to have somebody. But I'm honestly really surprised that he's not going to the White Sox, and I don't know much about these Brewers prospects they sent, but they got a guy that does play catcher, and they got a young DSL guy, both having good seasons, but not really known prospects, at least in my book.
Yeah, let me just jump in here before you guys throw in apologies. That's right. I forgot that Arizona wanted Zack Collins, and that suddenly was something that I'm guessing, again, the deal was probably something even less than that. And maybe you throw out the Zack Collins so the White Sox can pout and say, well, why are they holding up? There's no way we're going to trade you Zack Collins for Eduardo Escobar. There's a lot of weird subterfuge going on. And again, White Sox end up with nothing. Tyrone, Tommy, thoughts on Eduardo not coming home, bringing his very specifically intense fashion sense back to the White Sox clubhouse?
I don't know. I felt like he was kind of the boring, safe option that I just assumed was going to happen. I think originally, everyone was excited about Adam Frazier potentially coming over, and it was like, well, no, but maybe, Eduardo Escobar could help. He's better than Larry Garcia. So it was kind of, and so I think I just kind of assumed that at some point that was going to happen. And so now there's, maybe Trevor Story, but that I don't know.
Yeah, from my perspective, all of these trades just seem too good to be true. Usually the White Sox work in the dark. You don't usually hear about every single person that they're interested in trading for until the deal is pretty much already done, or there's some sort of medical reason why the trade won't go through. This has been the first trade deadline where I can remember the White Sox being in virtually every single trade name that was out there, which to me just indicates that they have no real interest in making a deal. They just want to look busy. And I don't, I hate to say that because I just sound cynical as hell, but that's why I've been so frustrated through this whole process, because they're names that the Sox have no business being affiliated with under any normal circumstances, that are not, Trevor Story is not a name that even makes sense. There's nothing in the White Sox depth chart on the minors or even on the majors that I think would be appealing enough for the Rockies that they wouldn't get from another team. But here we are holding out hope that some way, somehow, Trevor Story's coming to the South Side, and I don't see anything happening.
Oh, Tommy, you are going to be eating your words when Max Scherzer is pitching game 1 of the playoffs for the White Sox. Okay, wait. I got to ask you, Tommy.
Except Max Scherzer has to quarantine because of COVID, so he'll be here a little bit later.
Right. It'll be well, he'll be rested. He'll be rested. Okay, Tommy, I got to ask. I got to interject. Every one of these trades when they come through, is there a part of you going, Miker's still in Charlotte?
Absolutely. Although, I have to say, if Miker ended up in Colorado, that would be the coolest thing ever. Like just the sheer audacity of him playing in Denver would be pretty amazing. But yeah, I don't think, as much as I enjoy watching his home runs, I don't think other teams are so enthralled with him that they will part with their veterans for a guy like Adolfo.
Colorado could be an exception because he'll hit 50 homers in September. So
true, very true.
Okay, I think we've all sort of hinted at this, and I'm laughing, and I enjoy tearing up during a podcast from laughter. Again, we've said this on many different podcasts, probably going back to like January, but really, as fans, as much as we don't want to, we really have to temper our expectations for what the White Sox can do, because there's not much they can do. And it's not to let Rick Hahn off the hook. They need to add something. And there's no like waiver wire trade thing happening more. This is it. You got to get your guys, and then you can add like 3 in September. You can't even add 60 guys like they used to be able to do in September. So this is it. As much as you're adding Luis Robert soon. But the truth is, the White Sox do not have a lot of capital with which to begin, whether that's an organizational failure, whether it's because every draft pick they've ever had is now currently, even going back to 1965, currently playing on the major league roster right now, which is great. Kudos to the Sox, but you can do both. This whole idea of the contention window is a bit of a sham, because it's like, well, wait, there are teams that don't have a window. They just busted open the whole wall. They broke down the 4th wall, and they're just in it every year. And we're supposed to be like, oh my God, the 2020s are our time. But again, I'm not just asking for a bunch of harumps here, but I mean, we do have to sort of temper the enthusiasm a bit, because the White Sox were never getting Joey Gallo. They're not getting Max Scherzer. They're not unlikely to get Trevor Story. I like Darren's hope, so maybe he can explain that. But I mean, they're going to get a piece that can maybe fit. And we will talk about what some of those guys are in the second half. We're not going to break quite yet, but again, is that the feeling we should have as fans? As much as we want to be irrational and we want this to be Christmas Eve, there might not be anything under the tree, correct?
I think they could do some things with the bullpen and add, like I've seen Ryan Tepera attached to them a few times, because they really have to add in the bullpen. Even if they don't, or even if they did add in second base, they still need at least one reliever, because it's really not a solid bullpen. But I think you just kind of move your eyes towards the pen, because the best prospects for the Sox are pitchers, and maybe some teams just want to trade for pitchers and trade away pitching, keeping the same thing. I'm not really too sure, but I'm just more now looking towards the bullpen, because I don't see really a ton of options at second right now.
Yeah, one thing I will say, I do feel like I have not been watching a ton of like Colorado Rocky baseball this year, but Trevor Story has not been good. Like, I think I do trust that he's a good player, but like he offensively this year has been worse than Larry Garcia. So like he's had a rough year, and I don't know if the prospect it would require to get him is nearly as high as like his name would lead you to believe it would be. Yeah, so I don't know. I think he's a possibility, but I think definitely the bullpen is an area where the Sox, like, it would be malpractice not to at least add an arm or two.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree that I think my bigger frustration has been from the bullpen trades that have been happening, where teams aren't really giving up a lot, and the Sox are not the ones on the receiving end of those deals. And it's something I've said before, but I think the biggest problem with the White Sox right now is that a lot of the prospects that they have are more valuable to the White Sox than they are to the other organizations. And it turns into a really awkward situation where the White Sox don't want to overspend or overpay, but for another team, it's just like, no, that's really what we think Rutherford is worth, is this guy. And that's what you're getting. And I don't know. I don't see the White Sox budging. And that's what's kind of frustrating about it, is that I think what separates the good franchises from the great franchises are great franchises make their own luck rather than relying on good fortune to come their way. And I think the White Sox are still holding out hope that with everybody coming back healthy, that's somehow going to be enough for them, where you have teams like the Astros, who to me had even less reason to make a move than the White Sox do in terms of the divisional race, but they're still being aggressive on their bullpen because they know come the postseason, they're going to need the additional arms to make a deep run. And that's where I look at the difference between how different teams are approaching the trade deadline, and their outcomes are probably going to be more successful because they are trying to make their own luck.
Look at Tommy Barbee somehow finding in a Chicago White Sox podcast to work in the Derrick Rose Chicago Bulls into the podcast. Yes. Woo. Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk a little bit more specific White Sox. I guess we probably already have been doing that, but let's take a quick break and we will come right back. This break's going to be over before you know it. So blink and we're back. Okay, we are back. This is South Side Sox Mothership Podcast number 52. It's our pre-trade deadline roundtable. Not a lot to talk about that's tangible with the White Sox. A lot of fan frustration. Some of it may be justified. A lot of it, a little bit kooky. Sorry to call you out, South Side Sox commenters, but if you're listening, we fooled you into listening. Okay, let's talk specifically, guys. Okay, other deals that we've had. We've got Luzardo going from Oakland for Sterling Marte. White Sox don't have that kind of. They can't make that deal. Even the Kendall, the Graveman deal that Tommy just referred to for the break. Not sure what the White Sox have to make that deal, but that's a strange
Very strange
deal, especially given that Seattle turns around and makes a deal where they're back all in. So who knows what's going to happen in Seattle? But let's talk specific White Sox needs. And I'm curious now, given the fact that Eloy's back and contributing even defensively, he's back. Luis apparently knocking on the door to be back. It seems like outfield has maybe been crossed off the list for needs. It seems to be catcher, relief pitcher, second base. There's 8,000 relief pitchers out there, so it seems like it'd be easiest to trade for relief. But among you guys, what is your most pressing need? If you can only acquire one, what are we acquiring? Not most likely, what do we most need for the rest of 2021?
I mean, I would still probably go second base, just because there's like the combo of Danny Mendick and Leury Garcia at second base is a huge hole in that lineup. Like I know Leury has some really big hits every now and then, and his defense is great, or not great, but pretty good wherever he plays. But actually getting a guy that can, is at least an average to above average, like hitting second baseman, and that can actually play a bit of defense is still like fantastic. Because you can't really, like, I'm expecting Eloy to be fantastic, but he still is going to take a while to get used to everything because he just came back from a long injury. Same with Robert. I'm not still totally comfortable with Grandal. I don't know if he's going to come back and catch with a knee injury right away. I'm still kind of worried about that. So just having an extra bat, you can have him there every day, because if you're looking for a starting second baseman, like you don't have to do this Eloy, Andrew Vaughn, Jose Abreu, Gavin Sheets. Like, should they DH today, or should they play a position that they aren't good at? And so if you actually get someone that can start at second base, that's a whole position you don't have to worry about. So then if you have to play Eloy in left field in game 5 of the divisional series against the Tampa Rays, and you have a 2-run lead in the 7th inning, you can say, Leury, go play left, because you don't need to play second. There's an actual person that's good at that position there. Take the guy out who's not good at that position, and let's hold the 2-run lead. And then next would probably be bullpen, but I'm I'm pretty confident that like Kopech Hendricks like combo at the end of it is pretty decent. Just need Bummer to look like he did last year or most of his career.
I think for me, I would still lean bullpen, and mainly that's just because I don't know. I feel like I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the second base options as upgrades. I feel like, I don't know, I'm not sold on most of them. And I feel like with the bullpen, they could make it, because I feel like you're just trying to upgrade over Ryan Burr at this point, and like finding somebody that you can trust in a situation. And I think too, if you add another righty that allows you to do more stuff with Kopech, because I think my worry about using Kopech is more just like strictly a setup man, is that he may be more valuable to like either start a playoff game or like come in after, I don't know, you have Dallas Keuchel or Dylan Cease who can only go a couple innings, having him be able to fill that role. So I kind of, I'd like them to shore that up, just adding at least another arm.
Okay, Tommy, I'm not going to let you answer whatever deal doesn't involve Mike Rodolfo, but okay, pretending he is off the table, what do you want? What's the most pressing need to fill?
See, for the reason that Darren just said, my biggest need for the White Sox is actually catcher, because I think they can survive with their second base revolving door of mediocrity as long as the rest of the bats come to play. But at catcher, they need the leadership and somebody that can work with pitchers the way that Grandal can. But given his knee injury, I don't see why you would want to push that until closer to the postseason. And it would be really nice to have someone in the fold that can hit even a tiny bit, but mostly be a more than average catcher and not the worst catcher by most defensive metrics in Major League Baseball, where you're really just setting yourself up for failure. Bullpen is, I think, a need right now. I think when you get to the playoffs and you switch to a 4-man rotation, there's a lot you can play with where it's not as much of a need. Second baseman is a gap that I think if they had made any of the trades for the guys that were available earlier, that's one thing. But right now, there isn't anybody out there that's really that much of an upgrade outside of Story. But as we said, that's going to require a lot more than what the White Sox have.
Okay, nobody ever asked me, but that's because I'm not as bright as you guys. That's fine. So I'll just blurt. I am okay with weathering the storm with what we have at second and even at catcher. It's extraordinary to say. But Sebi Zavala does seem to be someone that the staff likes to throw
Very
to.
true.
And, I guess at this point, I'll take it. And relief, although you're right, the complexion of things do change in the playoffs, and you're going to get at least one of those starters is going to be in more of a bullpen mix. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if one of them's a gas. It also gives you Kopech can be even more of a Swiss Army knife weapon. Maybe he does get out to step out and start or open a game or just have like a 4-inning start and just sort of freak the other team out. Okay, a couple more categories I want to get into, but first we're going to do a thought exercise before we get to the one guy you do want to acquire. And here's the thought exercise. And I'm not particularly overwhelmed by Eduardo Escobar. I'm not crushed they didn't get him, but Eduardo Escobar is the target. We want to acquire him. He's the guy. Tell me, I'm going to give you names. You tell me if you make the trade to get Eduardo Escobar. Do you trade Yermín Mercedes for Eduardo Escobar?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I mean, okay. Yeah.
Okay, I started with an easy one. This ain't the SET. This is the Mothership podcast. All right, Gavin Sheets, do you trade straight for Eduardo Escobar?
Yeah.
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 South Side Sox readers,
Sorry.
I know what your vote is. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, readers. Come on, keep listening. Don't hang up. Stop. Okay.
Reading.
The Zack Collins for Eduardo Escobar.
Oh, absolutely.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah. That.
I would say no, just because I'm
Darren, there are other catchers in baseball. Like it's not it's
no. I just know that they probably wouldn't go out and get another catcher.
Take any of the ones in Charlotte. 5.
Oh, but that's been, oh no. I mean, that the guy they just added, but I'm scared it would just get to like Evan Scoug or something. Like that's kind of what I'm scared.
Well, okay.
But-
Final name. Jake Berger. Do you trade Jake Berger for Eduardo Escobar? I mean, we're not holding you to it.
I do.
Yeah, that one's probably the one that I'm most iffy on, because like Abreu is gone soon, and I like Berger a bit more than Sheets, just because Berger can play third and first a little bit. But I'd probably say yes. So,
If it makes the South Side Sox readership and electorate feel any better, I think I'm a little bit more hesitant on a couple of these guys than my panel here, which doesn't mean I'm siding with you guys. But I mean, realistically, you do have to give to get. And it's great to say Gavin Sheets might be the lefty power bat the White Sox can have power them through the 2020s. But where's he going? It doesn't mean you give him away, but where's he going to play, et cetera, et cetera. But we've been through that in the comments. So I'll let it rest. Okay, thought exercise. Thank you for participating in that thought exercise. Not that it's not an option anymore. Eduardo's playing for Milwaukee. He's in Beer Town now. Okay, let's go around, and I need to know the one player. It couldn't be different than the position you felt was most urgent. What's the one player you want the White Sox to acquire, whatever means necessary, even if it costs Mike Rodolfo, even if it costs him? Who's the guy you want?
So I'm going to stick with my position at second. And I mean, if perfect world, I'd say Trevor Story or someone like that. But more realistic world, I would love to have Jonathan Scope. He's also a rental. So I don't think it costs an exuberant amount. But there also is the intra-division trading. But Scope is my guy at second.
Yeah, because Detroit's going somewhere. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Darren, but come on, simmer down, Motown. Tyrone, Tommy, what you got?
I guess I'm going to go with Ian Kennedy. He's a familiar face, and I trust him in the bullpen.
Scope was the guy that I had in mind too. I know he's not a catcher, but I think that when the second base trade rumors started happening, he was the guy that made the most sense to me, more so than Eduardo Escobar. So I think that he would be a really good fit. And actually, I think in terms of a trade partner, it's probably one of the few teams that makes a lot of sense for the White Sox.
I am siding with Tyrone. I think Ian Kennedy is the guy I would want.
Really good.
And I think the nice twist there, although I think it's fair to say, despite the fact it's intra-division and it's Detroit, because they're coming, that the cost probably wouldn't be great for Jonathan. I think with Ian, the cost, it's Texas. They just traded their franchise. So I mean, what, you send them Yermín and a bunch of them Yerminator burgers, and then what, you send them like, maybe not Kyle Kubot, but I mean, just something. Okay, yeah, here's some kind of lottery ticket, right? Okay, another Avery Weems maybe, and you get a guy who, I think is a trusted hand. I think for some reason would mesh. I have no idea why. I don't think he cusses nearly as much. It seems like he would really vibe sort of well as a bridge to Liam. So I like that. But here's the thing, guys. We came up among us with just two names. So I think it's just logical that this is what's got to happen. Yes. And given what the White Sox have to give, I'm not sure we can walk away disappointed with that. I mean, maybe people want more than just the one bullpen arm, but I mean, if you really were limited to maybe just adding one on offense and adding one on the pitching staff, I think we can walk away feeling pretty okay with that. Am I wrong? I mean, I know people are going to be howling, but
no, yeah. So Scope, I mean, he's pretty good at defense. He's been an above average hitter this year, and I obviously picked him as a guy that I wanted, and he would just kind of fill a big hole right there. Like he could hit seventh, and that'd be a great seventh guy to hit. And then Kennedy just doesn't walk people, and in this bullpen, that's like a rarity, and that'd be awesome if they could get a guy that didn't walk people. Because Cody Hoyer's command has just fallen apart lately. And so just kind of getting the guy that can shore up, maybe needs to come in sixth inning, guy on first, third, that you can actually get someone out there that's not going to walk anybody. So I mean, obviously both those guys are pretty good options, and both are rentals, so shouldn't be too expensive.
Can I ask you, on the Dugout Metrics podcast, I think last week, this made Luke laugh like it's not a serious thing to consider. But if Ryan Tepera is a guy that was being mentioned in this podcast, we're in bonus time now. We got a little bonus time. Zoom isn't angry at us yet. So let's just explore the full studio space. Are you concerned at all in Tepera, or Lord, God help us, a Craig Kimball deal? Is there concern with Cubby Stink?
I mean, Eloy and Dylan Cease are pretty good. So
They were in the minors, so
yeah, that's
count.
farm stink. You know they come with farm stink.
I mean, if they help win a title, if they're the reason why we don't win a title, I'm going to be really mad. So I'm going to think it's a whole conspiracy, that they did it on purpose.
And you'll think that this podcast, you'll say, "Gosh, I wish I'd spoken up when Brett asked."
Yeah, blow the whistle on the Cubs players.
Tommy, Tyrone, concerned with Cubby Snake?
I mean, I feel like we're slowly taking more of their just everything Cub. I mean, we've got Len Casper in the booth now, and just more thanks Cubs calls. I'm not too concerned about it.
Yeah, I look at it less as Cubby Stink as, an opportunity for people to leave that awful place and come to a much brighter place on the South Side.
See, this is why we need people with true heart on this staff, unlike me, because you're taking the entirely different thing. I want to kill the poor guy just because he's got those pajamas on. But Tommy's like, this is a lifeline. Ryan Tepera, come. You'll breathe real oxygen. Okay, I guess final thing I need, and I only ask this because I've been on with Darren before where we've had Danny Mendick grand slams and Gavin Sheets walk-off homers as we're doing the podcast. I know as we started recording, something was going on with Lucas Giolito. I have not been following it. I'm assuming that's not still going on, or can we just sort of like bless it now because something's still happening? Where are we at?
And I know he looked good early in the game.
Yeah, he looked good, but I believe somebody did get a hit.
Oh, all right. Well,
yeah, we got 2 hits.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I just
they
figured
have scored runs during this podcast, so
okay. All
they've
right.
taken the lead.
Even if it wasn't a Danny Mendick grand slam.
No, it's just a single.
All right. Well, okay. That still counts. Maybe again, this is like a third win blessed by the South Side Sox podcast. All right. Well, before the Zoom does start barking, let's wind this up. But we will definitely, I'll promise you as listeners and readers and even panel members, including the ones of you who have really big hearts and speak really well of players instead of me wanting to condemn them to some sort of weird North Side Wrigleyville jail, which, let's face it, they're all probably trying to break out of, given the fact that they're just about to catch the disease. It's out there for them and nobody wants. Anyway, another podcast. We will definitely, if there is an acquisition made, we will hop right back on and I guess we'll talk about it. Maybe it won't be an emergency if it's, say, like Jonathan Schopp. Maybe that doesn't warrant like a 2 a.m. podcast, but we'll definitely address it. And of course, if nothing happens, or if something just really minor happens last second, certainly probably Friday evening, we'll record something and throw that out there. Well, okay, you guys, you 3 are all welcome. You passed the test. You passed the speed round, the thought exercise. And Tommy, you just made me look at things a different way. You've changed my philosophy about how to look at those players from across town who make me grind my teeth. So thanks, everybody. As always, even those of you who are disagreeing with the Gavin Sheets take, the very controversial Gavin Sheets take on this podcast, thanks always for listening and reading, sometimes even watching. And we'll probably be gathered maybe again in 24 hours, 12 hours, 36 hours. But let's, fingers crossed, the White Sox can at least acquire, Jonathan Schopp for the stretch run so that we can feel better and better about the chances of our White Sox team in the postseason. Thanks, guys, for joining. Let's do this again soon.